Hello mer friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ariel Sahar, and if this is your first time here, I make videos about eco-friendly lifestyle, gardening, and now that I'm pregnant, as you can see from the title of this video, I am going to be sharing my journey to become a sustainable mama. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, go ahead and subscribe so that you can follow along. Now, if you're not new here, then you may know that I have had some struggles with conceiving before. You can watch my video about my miscarriage, but I am finally pregnant after over 4 years of trying to conceive. So it has been a long time coming. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what I finally did to become pregnant, and then just about my trying to conceive journey in general. But first, like I said, I am 22 weeks pregnant, the smallest of the belly bumps here. We're trying to get there, but yes, I'm so excited. So let's take it way back to the beginning and talk about my and my husband's journey to conceive. So we've been married for 10 years now as of April 2012, but we didn't start trying to conceive until we were married for 5 years, which was around September 2017. And the first thing I did was to stop taking birth control. I was assuming, that it would take some time to conceive, because I always heard that, it takes a while to get the hormones out of your body. So I was thinking, within 6 months, we will probably be pregnant. But that was not the case. When I stopped birth control, I was 29 at the time. So by the time I hit 30, the following May, I was like, what's going on? And pretty soon after I stopped birth control, I started tracking my cycle, and everything according to the apps and stuff. I was using the Ovia app, and I was using one of those kits from Amazon that helps you track your cycle. I'll put links to everything that I talk about in this video in the description box, so you can check that out. But since I had been tracking my cycle, I noticed that my periods were regular. They came, like every 26 to 28 days, 29 maybe sometimes. And my ovulation was also regular. So by taking those tests, I could tell that I was ovulating every month. So it didn't seem to be an ovulation problem or an irregular cycle problem. Some of the issues that maybe we were thinking in our 20s, I had donated eggs a few times. And around that same time, my husband went to try to donate sperm, but he was declined because he had a low sperm count. So we were probably like 21, 22 then. And even though we weren't ready to have children at that time, we, were thinking that maybe it would be difficult down the line to have kids. And so since my cycle seemed to be regular, we were kind of assuming that it was on his side. So we started trying to conceive in September 2017. I use that term loosely because we weren't really trying. It was just a matter of me being off birth control and cycle tracking, which it's like, you would think that within a year you should be pregnant. That's, what the studies show, that within the first year you should become pregnant if, you're not trying to prevent it. So 2018 finishes, we had some major things going on at that time. We were traveling and, just living life. So getting pregnant wasn't a huge concern in 2018, even really 2019, because I found out that I was going to be losing my job. And so, we weren't super focused on it. But by December 2019, I started to be more serious about it. I started doing research and, trying to find supplements and stuff that we could take to speed the process along. So in my research, I found that maca powder helps and Vitex berry helps. So I went on Amazon and ordered some maca powder for us to put in smoothies and some Vitex for me to take because it's supposed to help give you regular cycles and ovulation. Even though I was already regular, I just saw so many places recommend Vitex. I ordered that in December 2019. We kind of started taking it. The maca powder tasted weird, so we weren't a big fan of that. And I have never been consistent with taking any type of vitamin. So I know I wasn't consistent with taking the Vitex at that time either. So from December 2019 to June 2020, that was a crazy time for everyone. So again, trying to conceive wasn't a huge motivating factor until June 2020. And I'm like, okay, it's been almost 3 years at this point that we have been trying to conceive. And, I started kind of looking into going to a fertility treatment specialist. But I was like, let me try one more time before we go do that. Let's really, try some supplements. So at that time, I went back to Amazon and placed an even bigger order for some supplements. So at that time, I ordered Fertile Aid for women. And I ordered Fertile Aid for men, which was like a sperm count and motility boost. It came like in a pack of 2 different supplements. I still had Vitex at the time, so I didn't order that again. And then I also ordered Blue Stork for male fertility and Pink Stork for female fertility, which was like a tea. And lastly, I ordered Pre-Seed, which is like a lubrication thing that you use during the baby dance. So at that time was when we really started taking our supplements consistently. As consistently as we could. As I said, I've never been great at taking vitamins, so I didn't do it every single day, but I would say on average, we probably took our supplements 3 to 5 times a week. We would drink the tea around the time of my ovulation, and then we would use Pre-Seed around the time of ovulation. So we started that around June or July 2020, and in September I got a positive test. Yay! We were so excited. So excited. Almost couldn't believe that it was true. It took so long for us to get there, but the tests don't lie, do they? Well, sometimes they do, but it wasn't lying for us. Once I found out I was pregnant, I found an OB/GYN, and which I did not have prior to becoming pregnant. So for 3 years, I hadn't been to the OB/GYN, for a pap smear, because I think you only need them every 3 years before you're 30. And I had probably had one when I was 28 or maybe 29. So wasn't quite time for me to do that. Although I should have gone to the GYN after our first year of trying, but it wasn't a huge importance to me for us to become pregnant at that time. So I was just kind of putting it off. And plus I wasn't sure how expensive it would be and if insurance would cover it. So anyway, I find a new OB/GYN and we make an appointment and we go there. Our first appointment. At that first appointment, I was probably about 6 weeks at that time, and I did have some spotting. I brought it up to the nurse and she was like, oh, that's normal. And I also had a UTI at that time. So that was another reason why we went to the OB. I take the medicine for the UTI and make another appointment for an ultrasound. The doctor I went to for the UTI didn't take my insurance. So I had to find another doctor for my second appointment, and that's the OBGYN I've been with ever since. So when it's time to go in for our first ultrasound around 7 or 8 weeks, my husband and I go in. We're so excited, and she does the transvaginal ultrasound, and she's looking around and there's nothing. If you want to see my whole miscarriage story, you guys can watch that later. I'm not going to go too deep into it. So long story short, that pregnancy was not viable. I found out around 7 to 8 weeks. Ended up going through the whole miscarriage process and all that. That was in November 2020. So to be honest, after that, from December through early 2021, it was, a difficult time. We had spent so much time trying to conceive, and it was just like, finally we got pregnant, and then it didn't work out. So it was a struggle to want to start trying again, because it took so long, and it's like, you don't want it to end like that again. So for the first part of 2021, we weren't trying to become pregnant. So, had a couple of appointments with my OB after that, doing, just to do my check after the miscarriage to make sure everything had passed. And then I did a pap smear a few months later. And so at the pap smear, I talked to my OBGYN about doing fertility testing, because like I said, before we had gotten pregnant that time, I didn't have a GYN. So once I told her that we had been trying for years, she recommended that we do fertility treatment or testing. So she scheduled me for a month-long round of testing, and then she also referred us to a urologist for my husband. So between April and May of 2021, we did all of our fertility testing. For me, that testing consisted of doing labs, I think 2 or 3 times throughout the month, and they were testing for FSH, LH, TSH, and progesterone. I also did an ultrasound to check my uterus and my ovaries, and we did I think it's called HSG lab, or like exam, where they check your uterus and your fallopian tubes. So the results of all those tests were that everything looked normal. My uterus looked good. My ovarian reserve looked good. And I was concerned, from having donated eggs in the past, that maybe my, reserve was a little low or whatever, but it was fine. And all of my hormones were good except progesterone. At that point, I feel like my doctor should have prescribed progesterone, since she knew I was trying to get pregnant, but she didn't. So we also went to the urologist, and they did labs for my husband, and they did a semen analysis. And as suspected, the semen analysis came back for low sperm count, but the urologist didn't really seem too concerned. He suggested some supplements that we could use, which were similar to what we had gotten from Amazon with the Fertile Aid. Later, we went back for a follow-up exam with the urologist, but they didn't do another semen analysis after, him taking the supplements that he prescribed, which I thought was a little weird. But he did give him another prescription to start taking. I can't remember what that's called, but I'll put it in the description box. So now it's May 2021. We've finished up all the testing, kind of know where the problems lie, but it's on us to go ahead and take these supplements, even though my OB/GYN didn't prescribe me progesterone. I still had the Vitex and I still had the fertile aid for women and men that we could be taking. But, again, we were still discouraged from having the miscarriage. I don't know. It feels weird that it took us so long to get over it. And it's like, if you want a baby, you would think that you would keep trying consistently. But, after so long of trying, we almost felt like maybe we were going to have to get extra help. I kind of talked to my doctor about doing a IUI, which is where they take the sperm and insert it directly into you. But she said that since my husband had a low sperm count, they'd probably have to stack it. So we'd have to do that like at a fertility treatment place. And so, I was like, well, we've gotten pregnant on our own before. So before we take that path, let's just try to do it one more time on our own. And I don't think I really set a time frame on how long we would wait before, doing that. But really, I would say that's not true. The time frame that I set was like the beginning of 2022. So for the rest of 2021, we weren't super consistent with taking our supplements and stuff. So once January 2022 rolled around, we were like, okay, it is time to get back on this train, or else we're gonna have to do the IUI. So around like January, February, we started taking our supplements more. Mainly it was me taking the progesterone. My husband took his fertile aid a little bit. He took a little bit of the other prescription that the urologist gave him, but it was more of me taking the Vitex berry, tracking my ovulation, of course, and also too, I knew that I needed my eating habits to be better because I wasn't eating consistently. And so, I started eating breakfast and, trying to have more balanced meals because I knew that that would be important in pregnancy. So mainly it was me who was doing the work. So anyway, by April 2022, I noticed that my cycle, my period hadn't started. So this whole time, my period has been very regular. Still been tracking it. And so by day 26, 27 of my cycle, I would usually spot a little bit. And then the following day, my period would start. So on day 26, 27, I'm not seeing any spotting. I make a note in my Ovia app and, I get a little suspicious. So then by day 28 and I still haven't had any spotting, I was like, all right, let me take one of these tests. So I took, one of those little strip tests from the ovulation kit, and I saw the faintest of lines. And I was like, okay, never seen that before, or I haven't seen that in a long time. So I showed my husband and he's like, I don't see anything. He wasn't really believing it, but I knew what it looks like for there to not be anything, and there was definitely something there. So I took another test on day like 30, 31, and the line was a little bit darker and still hadn't had any spotting, and I was like, this is it. So by this point, it had been about 4.5 years since I had stopped birth control, and we technically started our trying to conceive journey. And, we were cautiously excited. And this time we didn't tell anyone at all, like no one. I almost didn't even want to call my doctor's office to make an appointment. And I didn't do that until like probably the week after getting the positive. And the only reason I did was because I had like the slightest of spotting and it made me nervous. Now this time I didn't stop taking my Vitex once I got the positive. last time in our first pregnancy, I was reading the bottle of the Vitex and it says not safe to take during pregnancy. And like online, it says like don't take during pregnancy. But since I knew this time going around that my progesterone was low and Vitex helps to boost progesterone, I decided to keep taking the Vitex until I could get to the doctor. So I got a doctor's appointment scheduled for right around week 7. And in that appointment, my doctor knew previously that I had a miscarriage, and so she ordered for us to do an ultrasound right then and there. And we saw the heartbeat, which was such a good sign. Like it was a huge relief because, you know, last time we weren't able to see or hear a heartbeat. Again, cautiously excited. I asked my OB to prescribe me progesterone, which she did. I told her I was taking Vitex. She was like, you can keep taking it if you want to. I don't see any problem with it. But once I got the progesterone and started taking that, I started weaning myself off of the Vitex and only took the progesterone up until about week 11 or 12 when I started weaning myself off of that as well. Although you can just stop it cold turkey, I just wanted to wean it off because cautiously excited. Then by week 12, we had our first or second ultrasound where we were able to hear the heartbeat and see our little bean moving around. And that's when it was like, okay, this is not a drill. So yeah, that is my journey on how we came to conceive our little bean that we have growing now. You know, it's been a long time coming, but I'm, you know, getting more and more excited every week. You know, it's been difficult, you know, managing expectations and, you know, trying not to worry about things. But after like week 14, I started getting more excited and, you know, feeling like this is the one. So yes, that has been our journey of trying to conceive for the past 4 to 5 years. And, you know, now here we are from like age 29 to age 34, finally pregnant. It's been a long time coming, but it's gonna be good. So long story short, it seems like our biggest hurdle to conceiving was low progesterone, because since this last time that we've gotten pregnant, my husband wasn't taking his supplements as much as he needed to. It was mainly on me to take my supplements. So I really feel like the low sperm count wasn't that big of a deal. And then also too, I didn't mention that after we did the baby dance, I would lay with my legs elevated for maybe about like 10 to 15 minutes afterwards, just to, you know, give a little boost to the little swimmers. So maybe that helped as well. But we weren't using pre-seed at the time, but we were using a safe lubrication when needed. So yeah, I really feel like it was the progesterone that was our biggest issue. And, you know, had I been to the GYN sooner, then we probably could have figured that out more quickly. But, you know, maybe the timing just wasn't in the cards for us. But yeah, so I'm glad that it was a small issue, even though it took us a long time to really figure it out and address it. It really seems to be a common fertility factor or barrier for a lot of people. So, you know, if you're having problems conceiving, then, you know, try out progesterone. But definitely, if it's been more than 6 months or a year, just go see a doctor, you know, and get the fertility testing done. And that way you will know for sure what it is and you won't have to waste so much time like I did. Well, that's it for our pregnancy and trying to conceive journey for the past 4 to 5 years. It's been a long time coming, but I'm so excited that it's finally here. So prepare yourself for all of the motherhood and pregnancy and all the videos coming up. So if you want to see more about my journey to become a sustainable mama and to see more of my pregnancy journey, then be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so that you don't miss a video. As always, thanks for watching, and remember to continue making better choices for the health of your body and for the health of the planet. Ciao!